You want to learn some Favonia's blade work? Alright then, I'll teach you. Oh yes, I'll teach you alright. Mark my words. Knights and aristocrats share the same cultural heritage, but the knights had enough sense to do away with all the superfluous detail.
When you're high up, everyone can hear your voice.
Haven't you heard? There's a strange wanderer in here.
Aristocratic etiquette is all just for show. Just smile and nod along. I was forced to learn all of the rules by heart, but even I don't take them that seriously. Knights and aristocrats share the same cultural heritage, but the knights had enough sense to do away with all the superfluous detail.
There will definitely be something that catches your eye.
When you're high up, everyone can hear your voice.
Aristocratic etiquette is all just for show. Just smile and nod along. I was forced to learn all of the rules by heart, but even I don't take them that
Nice.
seriously.
Eula time. At just a moment, I'm making coffee.
Everyone can hear your voice.
Haven't you heard? There's a strange wanderer near Wolverine.
This is my current Eula build. It's 45% because I get crit rate from the cryo resonance with Rosaria and crit rate with Rosaria. Passive, I guess.
You want to learn some Favonia's blade work? Alright then, I'll teach you. Oh yes, I'll teach you alright. Mark my words.
When you're high up, everyone can hear your voice. Rebooting.
Haven't you heard? There's a strange wanderer.
Knights and aristocrats share the same cultural heritage, but the knights had enough sense to do away with all the superfluous detail.
When you're high up, everyone can hear your voice.
Haven't you heard? There's a strange wanderer in your
I'm from Asia.
When you're high up, everyone can hear your voice.
Aristocratic etiquette is all just for show. Just smile and nod along. I was forced to learn all of the rules by heart, but even I don't take them that seriously.
When you're high up, everyone can hear your voice. Error.
There would definitely be something that catches your eye.
When you're high up, everyone can hear your voice.
Haven't you heard? There's a strange wanderer in your kingdom.
Add Astra.
Chasm?
Some in the field.
Alchemy truly is fascinating.
Time to scout.
Just 4-star characters, but I'm hoping to see 6 Mayula here in 2 or 3 years worth of reruns, free to play. What's going on? Oh yeah, C6 Rosaria. That's it. C6 Diona, C6 Xingqiu, but I hope I will not C6 my planet here. C6 Xiangling. That's it. 2 C6 Razor. Maybe I should build Razor next after I build Albedo.
Knights and aristocrats share the same cultural heritage, but the knights had enough sense to do away with all the superfluous detail.
Hey guys, what's up? Sorry, I was making coffee. Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for dropping by. Yeah, I hope you all guys have a great time. Well, I'm just doing the usuals. Dailies, resin, maybe an event. Yeah, that's just it. That's Genshin in a nutshell. The game we all loved. Not much content, but still a great game. Great characters. Okay, so building my sub DPS Albedo now.
Moments of birth.
Shudder!
Hello there. Do you want some coffee, guys? Oh, it's hot. I burned my tongue. Sorry about that. Burn.
Gather! Order guide you.
Coming to be.
Shiver! Flood of frost! Beg for mercy. More speed. Shudder! Crush!
This is order. Gather!
Burst forth. Witness my great undertaking.
Yeah! Beg for mercy.
Stabilize.
Live!
You can't run! Punishment! Rack and ruin! Vengeance will be mine! Shudder! More speed! Quick! Under the umbrella, or you'll get soaked. You can't risk catching a cold, because it might turn into something more serious. And if that happens... well, I can't go avenging my clan by picking on the sick now, can I?
Would Eula be faster?
Solidify. Order guide you.
Coming to be. Moments of birth.
More speed.
Oh, you can't hide from me.
Crush!
Burst forth.
Beg for mercy. Shudder.
The wrong test subject.
Shimmer.
This is order.
That tingle?
That tingle?
Crush.
Picked. Coming to be. Feel this ancient power.
Yeah. Shudder.
Burst forth.
You can't run. Light.
Order guide you. Stabilize.
Add Astro. Thank you for
More speed.
Gather.
Coming to be.
Judgment. Crush.
Yeah. Moments of birth. Burst forth.
Shiver. Blood of frost. Beg for mercy. I condemn you.
I will have order. Gather.
Coming to be. Feel this ancient power.
You can't run. Shudder. Eye for an eye. More speed.
Order guide you.
Burst forth.
Yeah! Punishment! I condemn you! Freeze to the core! Shudder!
That was smooth. Not bad for a C0 5-star character. It's like as much damage as my C4 rated Shogun.
Stabilize. Cut the beat.
So at
Moments of birth.
lower investment, Eula is better than a lot of 5-star characters right there.
Rack and ruin!
Pretty good. So yeah, with this C0 Eula, you don't need to get
Order
the
guide you.
constellations.
Stabilize.
Just get her signature weapon and you're good to go. Maybe wait for her rerun if you want to get constellations to play. Yeah, so maybe when she reruns, I'll get try to get one constellation at least.
For justice.
Body and mind.
Solidify.
Rain cutter. Rain outlines your... You can't run!
Beg for mercy. I'll be back. With a vengeance.
Judgment!
All right, let's go.
Let's try some fun, different team comps. Not just the meta all the time. Whatever the meta is.
Let me leave your verse to ashes! Punishing! Crush! Eye for an eye!
Wow, I think this is a pretty funny team comp.
Know my sword! Rain outlines your... Yeah! I condemn you! Rain cutter! Beg for mercy! Rack and ruin! Shudder! Eyes on me! Know my sword! Let me weave you a verse. You can't run! Lights out! Beg for mercy! Freeze to the core! Crush! Eye for an eye! Yeah! Power that ended Haishan! Witness the power of the wild. You can't run! Punishment! I condemn you! More speed.
That was cool. Just a moment. So how are you guys? Thank you so much for dropping by the stream. Pretty woman walking down the street. Pretty woman, pretty Eula. Well, how are you guys doing today? Hope you're doing fine. What time is it? Where you are? Well, sometimes if I need healing, I would use the Eula instead. Also good. Also, she's a good battery.
Rain outlines your fate.
So what shall we do? $1,000,000 question. What shall we do?
Rain outlines your fate. Eyes on me! Shudder! Eye for an eye.
Would you care to sit down and join me? If you ever...
No, my sword! Twas on a deserted moonlit night that the hero approached the vile dragon's limpid lair. If my calculations are correct, Wanwen Bookhouse is due to receive a batch of new releases today.
Might we add a small detour to our adventure? I never embark on a journey without a good book to accompany me.
Sure, just a moment.
Twas on a deserted moonlit night that the hero approached the vile dragon's limpid lair. Now, this is what I call a moment of solitude. Twas on a deserted moonlit night that the hero approached the vile dragon's limpid lair. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Wow. Huh? All will be revealed in the next volume? Oh, drat. is what I call a moment of solitude. I never embark on a journey without a good book to accompany me. It was on a deserted, moonlit night that the hero approached the vile dragon's limpid lair. If my calculations are correct, Wanwen Bookhouse is due to receive a batch of new releases today. Might we add a small detour to our adventure? Now, this is what I call a moment of solitude. Time to act. Beg for mercy. Let me weave you a verse. Rain to ashes. You can't run. Lights out. Vengeance will be mine. Crush. I condemn you. Witness the power of Gugwa. Know my sword. Power of the pivot of judgment. Shut up. Punish me. Rack and ruin.
waiting. Follow my lead.
Suffocate! Stabilize this!
Advance! First forward.
Let's light it up! Everybody
Come into being. Moment of birth. I will have order. Charge! First forward.
Looks like I went too far.
The food to you.
Come into being.
Like the super awesome Tenacity of the Millicent set for full support Albedo to what we're going to talk about today, the two new things to get your hands on for free coming out 2.3. So if you're just getting back into Genshin, you need some free damage from this guy. Oh my goodness, it's going to be the most wild thing possible. Now you may think that this weapon, the Harbinger of Dawn, is a fantastic free play option, and it was indeed giving you 46% crit damage and 28% crit rate. That's awesome, but it is nothing in comparison to the new weapon coming out. The Cinnabar Spindle here. This thing has 69% defense on it, which is amazing because the thing that you use Albedo for the most, Albedo Burst, it's alright. It's okay. But the Albedo skill, this has a 267% defense ratio to damage and level 12. It's going to be less than that if you don't have him Constellation up, right? It's going to be like 220, I think, off the top of my head, right around there. Damage up, which is very important because not only does the Cinnabar Spindle give you additional defense percent, including
Charge! Everyone on
from
me!
your almost skill
Follow me.
by 80% of your defense. You can get an additional 80% multiplier here, which if you don't have this thing, you don't talent level 10, you don't have a ground for like talent level 8, that's going to be almost 50% additional multiplier. Why for anyone out there? And it's almost a 30% multiplier bonus for me alone. which is insane. On top of the 69%
This is
bonus.
order.
Then we're gonna have the set across the optimal green. It's gonna be hands down his best set. If you think so, you're right. If you think otherwise, you're definitely wrong. So what this set does, it has a 2-piece bonus and a 4-piece bonus. At the end of the day, you're able to get stacks with this set. You're gonna have the ability to get 4 stacks maximum. You get to either doing geo damage while active, or by just being an inactive character, you get a blue stack every 3 seconds. And I'll quote verbatim here, 4-piece, when a character equipped with this artifact set will obtain the curiosity effect in the following conditions. When you're on the field, the character will gain 1 stack after hitting an opponent with a geo attack, triggering a maximum of once every 3 seconds. And period. And seconds. The other way you get it, when off the field, you get 1 stack every 3 seconds. You just get it for free once every 3 seconds. Curiosity is stacked 4 times. Each stack gives 6% defense and 6% geo damage. When 6 seconds pass without gaining the curiosity stack, 1 stack is lost. So how does this work here? So what does this mean?
Hey everyone, it's Sebi. I waited a bit to make this Albedo guide because he's getting several buffs this version 2.3. This of course handle the Husk of Apocalypse set and more. Those 3 buffs are now available for us players to experience, so I think it's about time for an updated Albedo guide. In this guide, I'll go over Albedo's kit, constellations, best artifacts and weapons for low and high ARs, and best comps. Let's begin. The heart of Albedo's kit lies in his elemental skill and defense damage scaling. This skill is a flower that you can place into Geoconstruct. This flower creates a large field which can proc AoE geo damage every 2 seconds when an enemy within the field takes damage from another source. These are referred to as transient blossoms. This talent's damage scales purely from defense. As such, he is one of the few characters you can totally dump your defense artifacts on. Take note that the blossom's damage won't proc without the enemy taking damage, especially if the enemy is shielded. Albedo's first passive then increases the damage that these blossoms deal to enemies at half HP. When you tap Albedo's skill, he places the flower right in front of him, but if you hold Albedo's skill, you can aim where to place it. It's important to be aware of the flower's positioning because as a geoconstruct, it's prone to breaking from enemy damage or not placing it at all if too near a large enemy. The skill cooldown of both the tap and the hold is 4 seconds, but the duration of the field is a whole 30 seconds. This means you can pretty much get 100% uptime on his flower field. Since his skill applies geo damage upon proccing, it will crystallize when it hits something that has another applied element. Picking up the crystal gives you an elemental shield. This is another support function of Albedo, generating constant shields on the battlefield. While not as strong as talent-based shields, they can at least offer a bit of added protection. You also don't need to worry too much about Albedo messing up your reactions whenever the skill does geo damage. Its elemental gauge is weak, and to simplify, that means it won't get rid of elemental auras on enemies that fast, so you can still proc your hits and melts quite reliably. Albedo's elemental skill is also his famous Albedo Vapor. If you stand on it for a moment, it will lift you up. This mechanic can be utilized to dodge enemies or avoid them altogether or initiate clutch attacks. In exploration, it can help you climb stuff. However, it's harder to take advantage of it in the heat of battle, and it can lift you even when you don't want it to. The second key part of Albedo's kit is his burst, which costs only 40 energy. The most important thing to note is that while Albedo's skill scales purely from defense, his burst scales purely from attack at C0. This does mean that you have to choose which talent to prioritize since they don't scale on the same stat. Albedo's burst deals geo AoE damage when initially cast. If his burst is cast within his field generated by his skill, it will generate an additional 7 fatal blossoms. These blossoms will track enemies within the field and explode at them for further AoE damage. So for example, if there are 7 enemies within the field, then each blossom will target 1 enemy. If there are less than 7 enemies, then the leftover blossoms will target randomly. Clearly, you want to cast his burst only if his flower is active and you're inside it to maximize his damage. Since these blossoms explode in AoE and can stack damage has quadratic scaling, like Child's Riptide and Guidance Burst. So if you want to get the most of his Blossom's AoE and targeting, you can use crowd control to group your enemies into his skill field. Additionally, Albedo's second passive talent gives his team members 125 EM per 10 seconds when casting his burst. This allows him to be helpful in team comps that rely on reaction damage. It's a very simple, easy-to-use kit that does its main job, which is providing constant off-field damage on top of his other support utilities. For his talent priority, you can practically leave his auto attacks alone and just focus your resources on leveling up his skill and burst. Once you hit level 6 combos, the skill talent should be your first priority. Now let's look at his constellations. C1 just helps Albedo get back a bit more energy. This is a mid constellation for me, as I've never found Albedo to have energy problems if you pair him with another Geo unit. While it does improve his versatile you should only get this if you're aiming for C2 at least. I would say that C2 is the best constellation to add more burst DPS and quick swap utility. It makes his burst damage scale off his defense stat too, which practically solves split scaling issues and allows you to build full defense on him, knowing that his burst damage will benefit from it. And with his new 4-star weapon, C2 is even more valuable now. If you're an Albedo sim, C2 is the best constellation to target and stop at. But to emphasize, C2 isn't necessary to do good damage with Albedo since his skill is still his primary source of damage. C3 just increases his skill damage. C4 is only a useful constellation with Shroud since it increases plunging damage by 30%. It's a strange buff, and I think it was meant to add more incentive to use his elevator. Although the act of doing this might feel too clunky and the payoff wouldn't be worth it for most characters. Not really worth aiming for unless you're a dedicated Shroud main. C5 just increases his burst damage. C6 is a fairly simple constellation too, as it adds 17% damage bonus to anyone in Albedo's skill field that's protected by a crystallized shield. For a final constellation, it's a bit underwhelming to be honest. It requires 2 layers of conditions and it only increases the active character's damage, not the entire team's. Now let's go to his artifact stats and set priorities. For Albedo's main stats, you want to aim for a defense percent stance, geo damage goblins, and crit for the circlet for at least a 50 to 100% crit ratio. There are 2 alternative scenarios for his artifact main stats though. You can put a defense circlet instead if you run him on a Harbinger of Dawn, since the weapon will satisfy your crit needs already. Then there's a case for putting an attack percent stance on him to offer more to his burst, since the new artifact stat and weapon already gives so much defense, especially if your Albedo isn't C2. However, I would recommend this only if it's an attack percent stance with good substats and if you need to fulfill a set bonus. Otherwise, you can just go for the standard defense stance. For early AR players, 2B's Defender's Will is pretty obvious since it gives him plus 30% defense. It can't stay on him until you get a better custom set replacement. 2B's Gambler also fits him as it increases skill damage by 20%, which is where Albedo gets most of his damage from. 2B's and 4B's Exile work great to make him a better support, so you can also regenerate your team's energy by using his burst. And since his burst cost is only 40, it's easier to spam the 4-piece effect. Or you can opt for a 2-piece color alternative as well for the ER. You can also give him a Berserker set for the crit rate. Now for late AR sets. If you can't commit to 4-piece sets yet, you can settle on a combination of these in the meantime. 2-piece Archaic for geo damage in both his skill and burst, 2-piece Noblesse for burst damage, and 2-piece Husk for more defense and higher skill damage. The top endgame target is now the Husk of Opulent Dream set, a direct buff for Albedo. It's basically his best in slot set for damage, and he can easily trigger its 4-piece effect, even if you already have a well-built Albedo on the previous combinations mentioned. This will still be a significant damage bump that is well worth farming for in the long run. Additionally, the nice thing about Albedo is that he can use support artifact sets as well. 4-piece Noblesse is a viable build for a more support-oriented Albedo, because especially when he's paired with another Geo character, he can get his burst up quite easily. Albedo's burst cooldown is only 12 seconds, which is the exact duration of the Noblesse buff too. 4-piece Tenacity is another support option. Although Albedo doesn't benefit much from the 2-piece bonus, his skill can hit frequently enough to get great uptime on the 4-piece bonus, giving your team more attack and shield strength. Take note that 4-piece Arcade Petra is not an optimal support set because to get the buff, it has to be Albedo himself who will pick up the attack, so the low base attack of the weapon is irrelevant. And since Albedo functions more as a quick swap unit, you can easily keep his health near or at full, so the additional crit bonus will always be in effect. The only downsides are, 1, if there is a corrosion mechanic present that could ruin the passive effect. 2, the low base attack will make his burst damage noticeably lower if he's on C0. Now with the Cinnabar Spindle, which only Albedo can use properly, this is the weapon that pretty much supercharges his skill damage. Even better if Albedo's on C2. The only downside with the Ranger of Dawn is that you need to get luckier with crit rolls on your artifacts, but I think it's a trade worth making. After getting
Make sure to keep up. May knowledge guide you.
who's used a Harbinger of Dawn ever since, and with good crit stats, I don't see myself going back anymore. For other options, the original event weapon was the Festering Desire, which synergizes with it by increasing skill damage and skill crit rate. However, I do think other characters could make better use of that ER substat. There's also the Summit Shaper, which was supposedly his signature weapon. It does address his split scaling a bit at C0 to give his burst more oomph, but really it's value is overshadowed by his more accessible weapons. You could put a Jade Cutter on him, which will spoil him quite a bit and essentially fix his crit rate, but again, his free weapons are just there, and just give the Jade Cutter to someone else. So in terms of weapons, you pretty much have your best choices handed to you on a free-to-play platter. Now let's look at Albedo's best teams and teammates. When it comes to capitalizing on Albedo's geo damage, his best teammate pre-2.3 was Zhongli. Their combined geo resonance and Zhongli's Jade Shield resistance shred was one of the most efficient ways of boosting Albedo's damage. That pair has so far been excellent for supporting other DPSs as well. Albedo also pairs nicely as a support for Ningguang and Noelle. With Ningguang, Albedo can make use of her geo buffing Jade Screen and give geo resonance. With Noelle, Albedo also acts as a great battery to charge up her burst. But now, with version 2.3, it looks like Albedo's best support is Goru. Goru buffs both defense and geo damage when there are at least 3 geo members in the party. This essentially motivates us to put more geo defense scaling characters in the team, whether that's Noelle or Ito, who scales additionally on defense. Although Albedo is not meta in non-geo partnerships or team comps, he can easily fit any of your flex spots as a support or extra off-field damage or buffing with the Noblesse or Tenacity set. His weak elemental gauge and extra EM buffing makes him viable for reaction comps like Wu Tao Xingqiu or Child Shenling. If you have a DPS that uses 4-piece Bolide, putting Albedo on the team will increase your shield uptime thanks to the crystallized shields. Albedo also benefits from characters that get long durations of off-field damage, like Oz, Shenling's Burst, Ganyu's Burst, Venti's or Kazuha's Burst, since these help Albedo's skill Blossom's proc. Venti in particular is great to crowd control enemies for his burst. Overall, Albedo's just a solid character to fit in your free flex slot. So everyone, that's pretty much it for this updated Albedo guide. I would love to know in the comments if you have Albedo and how you'll be building him. But if this video helped you out, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you soon. Take care!
This opportunity is quite hard to come by. Well then, amuse me. Not bad. You've got a trick or two. I guess I should take you more seriously. Your strength is praiseworthy. I too shall use all of mine.
Fallen leaves, adorn my night!
OMG, not enough energy feels bad, man. If only I had Pavonius weapon. Satch.
Hey everyone, it's Zebi. In this video, I want to talk about what is arguably the most underrated weapon series in the game right now, the Favonius weapons. If you're a regular on my channel, you're probably not surprised given the amount of importance I place on smooth rotations and adequate energy, which is something the Favonius weapons help a great deal with. So I'm going to cover exactly how these weapons work, why they're amazing, and demonstrations of how much they can improve your team. Hopefully, by the end, I'll convince you to start using these weapons if you aren't already. Let's begin. The Favonius weapons have been around since the start of Genshin. Let's first discuss the details on its stats and mechanics. All Favonius weapons have an energy recharge substat, although it ranges from weapon type. This substat is immensely helpful to provide its user with ample ER. But its even more useful utility is from the triggered effect. When you deal a critical hit, there's a chance for it to generate energy particles. The description might be a bit confusing, so let's clarify it. The Favonius weapon generates 3 non-elemental particles, contrary to what it says that it's quote-unquote an elemental particle. An elemental particle is is attached to a certain element, like a hydro or pyro particle, but the Favonius is just a white non-elemental particle. A non-elemental particle alone gives 2 energy, and since the Favonius generates 3 of these particles, it gives 6 energy in total. But the description is a bit ambiguous, as it might be accidentally misinterpreted as a particle giving 6 energy each, but again, that's already the total. Another energy mechanic to note is that off-field characters don't gain the same amount of energy compared to the active character when you catch a particle. While the active character gets the full value, the inactive characters get only 60% of it. So, for example, in this 4-party team, if Ayato caught 3 of those Favonius-generated particles, he gets 6 energy back, while the other 3 party members will only get 3.6 each. Then there's another energy mechanic in play, and that's energy recharge. ER increases the energy gained from particles based on the ER stat percentage. So going back to the Favonius' particles, if the active character has 200% energy, then 200% or double of 6 energy is 12. This applies for inactive characters too. So if the inactive character also had 200% ER, then they get 7.2 energy back. There are some conditions you have to take note of to enjoy these effects. 1. This can only be triggered when the equipped character is on the field. 2. You need to deal a critical hit, which means that you have to build some amount of crit rate on the equipped character. While some would say putting a crit rate circlet is the solution for this, I personally have never done this and would just recommend that it's enough to get crit rate from substats, but that's up to you. On some characters who can deal AoE damage, there are better chances of proccing a crit against multiple enemies. If that still didn't work, then you can just continue doing normal attacks on the enemy multiple times, which increases your chances of proccing a crit hit. If it's equipped on an archer, then you can just quickly hit a weak point to guarantee a crit. 3. Depending on the weapon's refinement, there's only a chance for it to trigger when you deal a crit hit. 60% at R1, which is at least already a high chance, and 100% at R5. And lastly, the effect can only be procced every few seconds, and the cooldown time gets reduced with refinements. These aren't exactly major limitations, just things you have to adjust around and keep in mind. And that's how the weapon's energy mechanics work. Alright, so why is the Favonius series so good? Again, it gives the equipped character a lot of ER already, which helps a lot with their burst uptime. More so if this character is dependent on their burst. The extra benefits are now more oriented towards your team ER needs and team rotation. Team rotations rely a lot on getting your burst up, which needs enough ER to do. If your team has low ER, it results in less smooth rotations, or worse, the rotation falls apart in the second cycle, which actually results in a DPS loss. I have a video that goes more in depth about this linked below. Here's where the Favonius weapon comes to the rescue. Thanks to its energy-generating mechanics, it helps reduce the needed ER stat for all party members in your rotation. Since it provides the entire team with more energy on top of the energy generated by the party's skills or external energy sources, you can actually get away with less ER on them than you normally would without a Favonius user. But also, since these particles take time to travel to the character, you can actually switch to another character to let them catch the particles. This is funneling energy particles to another member so you can battery them, a very useful technique for energy management. This is also beneficial if you don't get that many ER rolls on your artifacts, which results in some lacking ER for certain party members. It comes in handy when you're fighting against a boss too. Mobs with lots of enemies generate lots of particles upon death, but with a single boss enemy, your opportunities for getting energy are greatly reduced, which the Favonius weapon helps a lot.